Hi, Flossie. It's Granby here with some very large glasses. I'm going to read you another Mrs. Pepperpot story, and this one is called The Dancing Bees. You probably have been told that bees are very busy, hard-working creatures, collecting honey from the flowers from morning till night, all through the summer, to store it up for food in the winter. But now you shall hear about a she-bee who spent her time in quite a different way. She did nothing but dance. And what gave her this curious idea? Well, wait till I tell you. One evening in June, this she-bee was on her way home to the hive from the meadows. But she hadn't found any honey that day. So when she saw a beautiful flower right below her, she swooped down and settled on it. But the flower was swinging around because it was fixed to a hat, and the hat was on the head of a girl, and the girl was dancing with her young man to the band in People's Park. At first, the little she-bee was disappointed to find no honey in the flower, but soon she forgot. All about the honey. It was such a delicious feeling to sway up and down in time to the music. It's like hearing 1,000 bumblebees humming over a field of clover, she murmured happily as she swayed round and round. Yes, isn't it? Said a voice quite close to her. And there on the boy's hat sat another bee. I shouldn't talk to strangers, I know, said the little she-bee, but this music is making me so giddy. I don't really know what I'm doing. Nothing wrong in talking, surely, said the other bee, who was, of course, a he-bee. Allow me to say that you dance superbly, and it's not easy to hang on a flower that is swinging round and round. I know what I'm talking about. There were 2 young lady bees here earlier this summer, and I tried to dance with them, but they both fell off after just a few turns. I always hold on to the young man's hat brim. In any case, this is my 2nd season here, so I've had plenty of practice. Ah, the music is stopping. That means it's time for refreshments. Just stay where you are. The girl and the young man moved over to the refreshment tent, and the bees went with them on their hats. Do you live far from here? Asked the he-bee. It's quite a long flight, the she-bee said, but I simply daren't let anyone see me home, as we have such a very strict doorkeeper. I quite understand, he replied, but perhaps you will permit me to fetch you a little drink of fruit juice. He flew down to the table and a moment later brought back a drop of fruit juice on one of his wings. Excuse my wing, but it's the only way I can manage it. Very nice of you to bother. Thank you very much, said the little she-bee. Aren't you having any yourself? Not for me, thanks. I'm driving. At least it's not exactly me driving, but I daren't take any risks all the same. I shall have to get back to my own hat now. I see they're starting the show. The little she-bee would have liked to ask what a show was, but she felt very shy, so she just rubbed her wings with her feet. Tonight there's a fellow with a guitar. Forgotten his name, but he's very famous, the he-bee told her. One young lady bee told me she once sat on his guitar while he played, rocking around the clock, and she'll never forget it as long as she lives, she said. The little she-bee listened while the man on the platform sang and played his guitar, and very funny he looked. First he sang quite quietly, but suddenly he went into shrieks and sobs and fell right down on his knees and shuffled off the platform backwards. What happened? Did a bee sting him? Asked the she-bee. No, that was the high spot, answered her new friend. The high spot? Oh, yes, I've heard that high spots can sting very badly, the poor man. And the little she-bee felt quite sorry for the man. But then the music began once more. Isn't it wonderful? She cried and clapped her front pair of feet. They sailed out onto the dance floor again, she on her flower and he on his hat brim. I'm afraid this is the last dance tonight, he said. I can see they're beginning to put out the lights. How sad! I shall have to hurry home now, the little she-bee said, but thank you so much for a lovely evening. You're welcome. Perhaps we could meet another time. That would be nice, she answered. When she got back to the hive, the doorkeeper would not let her in at first because she had no honey with her. But in the end, he relented. Next evening, she went dancing again. But this time, she was very careful to hide a little honey in a tree stump close to the hive so that she could pick it up on her way home after the dance. The he-bee on his hat brim was very pleased to see her. I'd been thinking about you all day, he said. Very kind of you, I'm sure, she said, looking very demure. Like the evening before, there was music, there was dancing. The he-bee brought her fruit juice, and then there was the show. Afterwards, he persuaded her to take a little ride in the young man's car. But when the he-bee asked if he might sit on her hat, the little she-bee said firmly, no. Later, when she got back to the hive, she had no difficulty getting in past the doorkeeper, as she had remembered her store of honey in the tree stump. And so it went on every evening, all through the summer, and no one in the hive knew anything about it. But one day, while the she-bee was flying around looking for honey, she forgot herself. Instead of her ordinary buzzing, she started to sing, Waltzing Matilda. Whatever are you buzzing? Asked the bee who was flying nearest to her. The little she-bee got quite confused. It's only a waltz tune I heard, she stammered. Then, of course, she had to explain where she had heard it. But this was just as well, for she could not have kept the secret to herself much longer. As the day went on, other bees kept flying up to her, wanting her to tell them about the dancing, the music and the show, and about her dancing partner on the hat brim. Can't you take us along with you tonight? They all pleaded. Not tonight, she said, but perhaps tomorrow if my partner gives his permission. That evening was as delightful as all the rest, but the young man didn't have his car with him, so he and the girl and the bees all went for a walk in the woods instead. It is really just as pleasant, don't you think, to go for a walk on such a lovely evening, said the he-bee, and if I'm not mistaken, we're heading for that little bank with the bluebells on it. He was right. The young man and the girl sat down. They sat on the flowery bank, and so did the two bees. The young man spoke softly to the girl, and she bent her head so far forward that the bee had to hold on tight not to fall off the flower. Why does she bend her head like that? She asked. He is proposing to her, said the he-bee. You had better let me come over and hold you so you don't fall off. And he took off from the hat brim and made an elegant landing on the flower. Then he put his wing protectingly round the little she-bee. This time she did not protest. What does propose mean? She asked, though deep inside her she had a feeling she knew what it meant already. He is asking her if she will be his wife and stay with him forever. Oh, how wonderful, cried the little she-bee before she could stop herself. Do you really think so? Then I shall propose to you this very minute, said the he-bee, even though this isn't the usual way for bees to behave, I'm sure. But it's difficult, you will agree, not to be carried away in these beautiful surroundings and hearing so much love talk. Oh, yes, sighed the little she-bee, and hung her head bashfully, just like the young girl. The next day there was a terrific hullabaloo in the hive. The bees, who knew about the dancing, had told a lot more bees, and now it had got round the hive. There they were, a great black swarm of them, thronging around the entrance, all demanding to go to People's Park, like the little she-bee. Show us the way, they kept crying. Show us the way, and we'll follow you. The little she-bee hesitated at first, but then she said, All right, I will. You can all come with me. Secretly, she was longing for the music and for her partner in the park, so the whole swarm rose in the air and flew off after the she-bee. But this was in the middle of the day, and there was not a soul to be seen in People's Park when they got there. No sign of the flower on the hat, or for that matter of the girl and the young man, and the he-bee. The she-bee was lost, and she knew it, but she couldn't stop now. On and on she flew, and the swarm after her, over fields and meadows, over roads and hedges, until quite suddenly the little she-bee caught sight of something hanging on the branch of an apple tree. It was the hat with the flowers on it. She was saved. "Come on, all of you," she buzzed as loudly as she could. She flew to the flower and clung there, and all the other bees clung to her, till they looked like a huge black cluster of grapes shining in the sunshine. Someone came into the orchard. It was the girl. When she saw what was happening to her hat, she gave a shriek of alarm. She shouted out to someone inside the house, and out came the young man with a great big net. He put it carefully over the swarm of bees and carried it over to an empty hive. There he shook the net, so they all tumbled in, and then he put the lid firmly on the top. As luck would have it, the he-bee was still perched on the young man's hat brim, so he was able to slip in the hive with the rest of them. After that, they had time to settle down in their new home. The bees made the little she-bee their queen. But from what I've heard, she was not a bit kind to the he-bee when he became her husband. And if he or any of the other bees ever dared to dream about going into people's park, they soon discovered that it was the queen who called the tune from now on. Their dancing days were over for good. Well, Flossie, I think that's a very funny story and no sign of Mrs. Pepperpot at all. And I think the queen bee's been a bit mean. Spoilt everybody's fun. So, I don't know what you'll make of that one. Not much, I don't think. Bye-bye, till the next time.